Hey everyone, it's Kristen with Somatics. Today I'm going to show you a little variation on how to do the back lift. So if you've seen my other videos, the back lift is done while you're lying on your front. So you've got one hand under your forehead or under your cheek, and you are turning and lifting your leg, opposite leg, in your upper body. Now if you're doing that lying on your stomach, for some folks that's kind of challenging to do. It doesn't feel very good, and also they can't very well make that connection of the opposite shoulder and opposite hip connecting behind them. So this little variation you get to do lying on your back instead of on your front. And when you're working with less effort, your brain can soak up a lot more information about how to make that connection. So this is a much gentler, easier way to do the back lift, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started.
So the first thing you need to do is get down on the floor, and if you haven't explored both arch and flatten and the back lift, I'd suggest you look at those videos so you understand a little bit more about what we're trying to do here. But the arch and flatten is a tilting of the pelvis forward, the back is contracting while the front is expanding, and then the front is contracting while the back is lengthening. So when folks do this, I'd like you to practice this too, is see if you have a tendency to tilt a little bit more into one half of your pelvis or the other. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but if you do, let that be your guide of which side to do this with first. So I have a tendency to tilt a little bit more into my right half of my pelvis. So I'm going to intentionally let that happen. So instead of just right towards my tailbone, it's a little bit off to the side, and I feel a little bit more weight into my right hip, and there's actually less weight on my right foot. And so I've got that hip dropped into the floor, and then I can also add a little bit of a roll of my head towards my left shoulder, and that helps me sense that left shoulder pressing down into the floor. So I have this opposite shoulder, opposite hip, making kind of an arc off the floor, dropping the weight into that left shoulder, right hip, and then as I exhale, I'm going to feel that release on that diagonal, and then just a nice breath to prepare. And as I exhale, then I'm going to do a curl, that flattening of the back, and that left shoulder now is going to roll inward towards my center down to this right hip that is contracting on the diagonal up towards the left shoulder. Okay, so then I'm going to release that diagonal and let that relax. So when you're doing arch and flatten, the chin is dropping with the pelvis as the pelvis tilts forward, and then the pelvis and the head go the other way when you flatten. So you're doing that same kind of pattern of the chin down, chin up with this diagonal arch and curl, or the supine back lift as I'm calling this. So as I inhale, and my chin is going towards my left shoulder, my weight into my right hip. And then when I exhale and curl the other way and flatten the back into the floor, this left shoulder curls in, and my chin is now going a little bit off to the right and back. And then I release that. It's almost like a little zigzag pattern at the back and the front, contracting and lengthening. And then I just let that melt. And then I would repeat that on the other side, taking a breath in. The weight is going into now my left half of my pelvis a little bit more. Right shoulder. There's a diagonal lengthening, a diagonal shortening in the back, feeling that back lengthen and relax, and then curling in on the diagonal this way with my chin going up towards the left. So I have left hip, right shoulder contracting towards each other, back is sinking, and just letting it relax back to neutral. So that is doing the back lift from your back instead of lying on your front. I hope you enjoyed. Any comments or feedback would be appreciated down below. Take care.